but I did attend the illustrious Morgan State University, and we did take a class called the Black Diaspora, which explained in the slave trade, millions of people died being brought here from Africa. And if you're a black person that says, that's not true, that's a myth, that's a very not decisive, divisive idea in the black community. And Kyrie has weird ideas. He has very much what's called the magical mind, where you find zen in your made up place, and that's okay because it's your place. Even though it's made up. I don't know. I don't know, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I don't know.
I think all this leads up to, and me and you were had already been talking about this yesterday, but I mean, this all leads to the breaking news, which was like the biggest basketball news we've had in I don't know how long, besides obviously the league coming back, which is Kyrie talking about making another league, which I'm assuming is incident number 100 of for this year, or I don't know, 50. But that was like the Stefan Bondi report, and then it was corroborated by Ryan Russillo, who also said that. But I mean, but then all the players came out against it.
Yeah, I'm curious on that because here's where the players could end up looking like fools, and they may have ended up on the side of, and I hate when people make shit up like this, but you'll see why I'll get a pass for saying this. It's just to kind of bring out a point. Players are going to back their teammate, right? They're they're gonna go, you know what? Kyrie left the group chat. He's angry. Let's go out and protect him by saying he didn't say that. And truthfully, that's a sign that they believe in him in a certain way, that they care about him, that they would want to kind of do what's necessary to, keep Kyrie in a good way. But if they're lying, what does that say about the Nets, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's so weird because I mean, as obviously as you know, because we obviously been talking about this for a while, but it's just bizarre to go from the team last year that was like the combination of like the league pass and the analytics darling with everybody getting along last year, and it being a bunch of guys who were kind of misfits, and then it all came together. And I think as we all saw, like that Sixers series could have gone a different way if you have a couple different plays that go a different way. Even though it was 4-1, it didn't really feel like a 4-1 series. And then you go to this year, and the team has like the target on its back. Which, to be honest, like I mean, even the Jason Kidd teams never had that. Like they were never the subject of anything. Like I mean, Durant is gonna go down in history as probably the best guy to ever put on a Nets uniform. So
Ever.
like, yeah,
Ever. And
so
Kyrie is debatable.
yeah, right, and exactly. So like, I mean, it's definitely weird. And what's obviously the weirdest part of that is that like they haven't even we haven't even seen what the guys can all do together yet.
And that's the depressing part of this whole thing. Kyrie earlier on this year, I'm watching him play, and he could just do things with a basketball that I'm telling you, Knicks, Nets, St. John's, whoever, there has never been this level of basketball player on the Nets.
No way. No.
And on the Knicks either. The Knicks have not had this level since Clyde Frazier. There has not, and I would venture to say that if Kyrie was just normal, he would go down as the second best basketball player in New York City history. Maybe if you count, and I do count Dr. J.
Yep.
Dr. J, people forget, Dr. J was the LeBron of his time.
Yep.
Right? So before Bird and Magic came into the league, the best basketball player in the world, hands down, was Dr. J. And he won some significant championships during, two of them during that era, and as well as having the dominant team in the ABA that actually caused the merger to have to happen. A lot of people don't realize that either. But regardless, he would be in the top three. Even with Jason Kidd. Kyrie is better than Jason Kidd. Kyrie is a better basketball phenom than Jason Kidd. You just can't. Jason Kidd is just so good on defense. He's so good across the board. That just makes him better. But when it just comes to like, give me the basketball and get out of the way, a basketball spectacle, that's Kyrie, man. And it's just unfortunate he's a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish, to be honest, like I wouldn't mind all the talking and stuff like that because I can honestly get over it. Like it doesn't. Like for example, like I'm a diehard like Giants fan, and I thought like Beckham was basically like railroaded by the media, even though like Beckham would do some things that were like a little bit out of the ordinary, but like Beckham was like a totally like good guy and didn't have any trouble. He basically was just different and said some things that maybe like people weren't used to him saying. But like
in comparison to Beckham, right? Kyrie Irving, when Odell Beckham Jr. is a bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
In comparison to what Kyrie Irving is. Kyrie Irving is the bat soup that created the coronavirus in comparison to Odell Beckham Jr.'s bologna sandwich. Do you understand? The Boston Celtics had a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. He joins the exact same team, right, that theoretically got better with a couple of those signings. And the team gets worse. And because he's such a basketball spectacle, because he's so phenomenal, none of us said, nah, I'd pass. We all, even me, I didn't want the trade I didn't want him to sign him. I admitted it was for sentimental reasons, and I also like continuity, and I'm also kind of like a homegrown team type of guy. Like, I appreciate that. I can admit all of those flaws. However, I felt like there was something about the athlete, the human being, who is satisfied. I've gotten my championships. I've been all NBA. My sneaker generates over $100 million a year. I'm that dude. And so far, Kyrie just exudes all of those things that I thought would come with the superstar. And the only question is the only answer is the only thing we can have answered is to see Kyrie and Kevin Durant together on a basketball court dominating. That would make all of this worth it. If what we think happens when you put those two together, if that is what happens, then, man, how good could they be, Sam?
I mean, look. So you just said a lot of stuff about him, and I actually think like in what you just said about him, I actually think it's super interesting because I actually think a lot of the stuff that he doesn't get crap for, he probably should, and a lot of the shit he does get shit for, he probably shouldn't. Like so going super quickly. So like the Celtics stuff, for example, like I think a lot of that was just like having a lot of guys and the Browns and Tatums of the world were used to having a similar a certain role from the year before. Stevens like tried to incorporate Hayward too much, all that stuff. So I know I sound a little bit like Kyrie apologist, like from that perspective.
But don't gloss over that. What if I said to you in response to that statement, right? What if I said to you, how can you ignore his defense? When you put him into the lineup, he is such a liability on defense. How do you ignore that is the reason why when he was in lineups or why he was playing, the team would regress?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's definitely look. I'm trying to be as a what's the saying that everyone tries to use in politics now is people calling each other like intellectually dishonest. So I'm trying
Right.
to be real with myself because I was definitely a critic not of Kyrie like the person as much as Kyrie the player, and like consistently always thought when he was when he was with Boston or with Cleveland that like Lillard was definitely a better guy you want on the team. And I mean, like the Kyrie and Chris Paul stuff goes without saying. But I mean, sorry, the Steph and Chris Paul stuff goes without saying. But I mean, at the same time, like he's brought to this team to, and I think this is kind of what the main crux of what we're gonna eventually get to, which is like he's brought to this team to be the number two again, even though like he may think he's the number one, or I know he's got obviously he grew up a Nets fan and he's kind of become the spokesperson a little bit, and
I
especially
don't I don't think he thinks he's number one. I think it's clear in his mind that Kevin Durant is better than him. I think so.
You think so? Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's probably true. I think I mean, he's definitely become the face of the team more than anyone else. But a lot of that might just be due to KD being out. But like, I mean, and I think this is like kind of what makes Nets fans both most excited and probably most frustrated because it's like you can almost taste it. Like, I think if I mean, and I know, and I've seen you tweet about this. I mean, I think if KD and Kyrie are healthy, there's no reason that the team isn't like a top three team in the NBA. Like I mean, they have like they basically go like 8 or 9 guys deep, and to have Levert, Dinwiddie, and or Harris as your 3, 4, 5 is like as good as you're going to get really in the NBA. Besides, like maybe like maybe the Clippers and maybe the Bucks, but like I mean. I actually think that because Kyrie and KD have so much media baggage, which I think like a lot of that stuff, like people like me and you can kind of like look over some of that because at the end of the day we care about ball, and like I mean their team is like unequivocally like incredibly deep, and I actually think will fit together pretty well once they figure out kind of where Levert and where Dinwiddie stand in terms of like staggering minutes and stuff.
Yeah, listen, man, I daydream about it. I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna lie. I mean, there's a sober part of my analytical mind that says it's not gonna be much different from Westbrook and KD, which did not win a championship. I think I think the Nets are a power forward away. That's pretty much my thing always. But you cannot stop Karis LeVert if you have to try to not even stop Kevin Durant, not even stop Kyrie Irving. If your team's defense has to try to contain Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on giving nights, it is impossible to stop Karis LeVert. It isn't when he goes to the bench and it's another combination of Dinwiddie and Durant. There's going to be nights that those two alone are going to be unstoppable. Not because Kyrie and KD specifically, but because of the magnetism of Kevin Durant on the floor, the amount of attention that he's going to draw. So those dribble drives to the basket that usually comes with a lot of defense, Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be going up basically unopposed to the basket, and it's going to be ugly for teams. And all they have to do is find someone who could rebound and defend and be physical and allow those guys to do what they do. That's the thing. And here's where Kyrie scares me the most. I think Kyrie has enough clout and he's crazy enough to tear this team down to nothing to get another person because he thinks that's the way it should be, and they're gonna screw up